Welcome to S&P Knowledge Series. In this episode, let's start PMP, mock test practicing session. Today's session is on Agile questions and answers. Session. Trainer, S.N. Panigrahi, Certified PMP, Authorized Training Partner ATP, Instructor PMI USA, Fellow Institution of Engineers, FIA, Chartered Engineer, GST and International Business and Projects Consultant, Corporate Trainer, Mentor and Author, National Council Member, IIMM. Please join his session and ensure passing the PMP exam at first attempt. All the best.
Welcome to Agile Mock Test. Let us start today's session on Agile related mock test for the PMP. You able to see the screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So let us do some practicing question answers. And while we are doing this practicing question answers, we are also revising the lessons learned. Means recapitulating the lessons learned, means it is summarizing also. So during this question answers, we are also giving certain inputs. So mainly those who are not from the Agile framework and they are new to the Agile, for them also it is very useful. They can understand the basic concepts also through practicing question answers. Okay. Yesterday I told you how to proceed with the question answers. Means when you are attempting any of the question or any of the answers you are making, even though the answer is very true, but don't stop there itself. Go little bit with the understanding the what is the concept behind it, what are the terminologies we are using there in the question or in the answers they give us certain other options. So what are those? So each of them understand little bit of the concept about the related topics. So refer to the your any of the subject materials or in internet. So understand the concepts. So the PMP exam is basically the conceptual understanding. They test your concepts. Okay, it is a competency based exam. So the exam tests your conceptual understanding from your practical experience and learned your knowledge. So let us do this question.
Iterative.
Okay. Why this is an iterative?
A lot of research involved, right? And experimentations.
Yeah. Okay.
So they'll need to create prototypes and keep updating them.
Yeah, that is very key words. So each time when you are attempting any of the question answers, try to understand the keywords. Keywords here are talking about new innovative project.
Actually hybrid.
Okay. Why it is a hybrid and why not a hybrid also we'll discuss. Okay. The keywords here we are talking about the new innovative project involving experimentations and early research developments. That the keywords. So C is process of determining which project life cycle has to be selected. That is what the question they are asking for. So their options they are given: predictive life cycle, iterative, hybrid, agile. Okay. So all these things we first understand what is the predictive, what is the iterative life cycle, what is the hybrid, what is the agile, and one more also the incremental life cycle. So each of them we have to understand. But here very clearly we are talking about the experimentations. Experimentation means the scope is not very clear and subject to changes, and we are making experimentation based on the feedback and learnings. And also early research developments we are doing, means what are the early outcomes, incremental, like we can deliver. So both iterative and incremental concepts are clubbed together. So therefore it is an agile concept, mostly in the software related, also in experimentation or research and development and laboratory experiments. There we use the agile concepts. So agile life cycle is very suitable in that situation. Okay. So therefore it is an agile. But as I told you, we are not confining only the question and answer. The answer maybe it is agile, you are right, but we are not stopping here. We are understanding little bit what is the predictive, what is the iterative, what is the incremental, what is the agile, then hybrid, all those things little bit we learn. So that is the way of our practicing, because we are at the learning stage. In the learning stage, conceptual understanding is very important and subject understanding is important. Okay, not the question answers, just is right or wrong, it is not a matter now, because we are still learners. Even though the answer is wrong, like somebody is told hybrid, we have to understand why it is hybrid and why not others, or why it is not a hybrid, why it is an agile. Like that we have to make a question, so understand each of them. Okay.
Types of project life cycles. There are 5 types of project life cycles: predictive, iterative, incremental, adaptive or agile, and hybrid method. Predictive life cycle follows waterfall approach, which is a highly structured and plan-driven. Rigidly follows sequential steps, more of process-oriented, traditional projects. Scope is well-defined, time and cost are estimated at the early stages of the project. Any changes must then be carefully managed through change control mechanism. One-time delivery at the end of the project or phase. Iterative life cycle. The deliverable is produced through a series of repeated cycles, called iterations, done by getting feedback on a regular basis for correction, refinement and improvement. The deliverables are completed only after the final iteration. One-time delivery at the end of the project or phase. This approach is used for projects that are large or complex, where risks are high, the scope is not completely known upfront and is discovered as the project progresses. Incremental life cycle. Frequent small incremental deliveries are produced through a series of iterations that successively add functionality within a predetermined time frame. Each increment integrates additional parts of the solution until the final increment, where the remaining parts of the solution are integrated. Adaptive life cycle. The adaptive life cycle is also called a flexible or change-focused method, or agile or change-driven method. It combines both incremental and iterative life cycles to deliver incremental small packages after repeated iterations by taking feedback for continuous improvements. Hybrid life cycle. Hybrid project management combines the traditional and agile methods to create a new project management method. Hybrid employs the thoroughness of work breakdown structure (WBS) with speed and lean benefits of agile for a new project management method which is both detailed and fast.
So just a minute. So these are the 5 life cycles we have already learned. So each of the life cycle, some keywords or characteristics we have to understand. The characteristic of the predictive life cycle is the scope is well defined at the early stages of the project. Based on the scope, we estimate the schedule, cost, and of course the resource requirement. Accordingly, the plans are being developed at the early stages of the project for the entire project. Here a distinction of the predictive life cycle is we are doing the planning for the entire project at the early stages. Whereas in agile, if you come, there also planning is involved, but each of the iteration wise we are doing the planning. Entire project little planning, but each of the iteration wise we are doing the planning. So that is the difference between that predictive life cycle planning and adaptive life cycle planning. Okay. So adaptive, predictive life cycle, some other characteristic we have to understand, because it is a step-by-step sequential approach it is follows, a waterfall methodology or waterfall approach it is follows. It is well structured and plan driven. As per the plan, we have to execute. Okay. And at the end of the project or end of the phase, we are delivering the deliverables one time. So one time delivery is very important to understand here. Right. Now comes to the iterative life cycle. In the iterative life cycle, the scope is subject to multiple times changes based on the feedback from the customer or other stakeholders. We have to make iteratively improvements, corrections, refinements till we are delivering the correct product. Okay. So multiple times the iterations happens in this iterative life cycle. The scope is uncertain or subject to changes. At the end of the project or the end of the phase, again here one time delivery. So iterative also one time delivery at the end of the phase or end of the project. after multiple iterations and make all the corrections, then we are correct product at the end we are delivering. Then incremental life cycle. The incremental life cycle, the changes are minimal, the scope changes are minimal, but frequently we are delivering the small incremental deliveries to the customer. So frequent deliveries are very important here, frequent and small deliveries, so that customer can put into use. So it is value to the customer. So the focus here is customer satisfaction. Okay. Then comes to the, but here the not one time but incrementally we are every time very frequently we are delivering the deliverables. Now comes to the adaptive. Adaptive is a combination of the iterative and incremental life cycle. The adaptive also called as an agile life cycle. In the agile life cycle, both the characteristics of the iterative and incremental life cycle characteristics are clubbed together, so that here the scope also very frequently changes, or complex nature, subject to changes, dynamic in nature, and at the same time we are also delivering the deliverables, small deliverables, incremental deliverables faster, quick, so that it is reaches to the customer, customer can put into use, it is value to the customer. So both the iterative and incremental life cycle characteristics are clubbed together in adaptive life cycle. Then comes to the hybrid. Hybrid life cycle is a predictive life cycle plus adaptive or agile life cycle. Both the characteristics are clubbed together. Means some part of the project we do in a predictive fashion, and some part of the project we do in iterative, in agile fashion. So both the combinations are there. So therefore it is called as a hybrid. Hybrid, one example I will tell you. Suppose you are developing a software. Software alone is not essential, but along with the software to function it practically, you require certain hardware requirements also. So the software development, ideally the agile life cycle is suitable, you are adopting the agile life cycle. But hardware requirements, for example your servers, your LAN connections, or the cable connections, or your laptops, or printers. So all these should follow certain predictive life cycle approach for the procurement or acquisition. You have to first develop the scope. The scope must be well defined, the specification must be well defined, the brand and etc. And then you follow the procurement process, a step by step approach, calling the making the bid announcements and sending the bid documents, receiving the quotations, comparison, then selecting a particular vendor based on certain criteria, then award of the contract. After the contract, ensuring that deliveries are being made, then its acceptance and payment. Like this, a step by step approach you are following, which is a predictive life cycle concept. So there the procurement of the hardware requirements, the very ideal situation is ideal life cycle is predictive life cycle. So here both we are clubbing together. For the software part we are adopting the agile, for hardware part we are adopting the predictive life cycle. So it is a hybrid type of life cycle. Okay. Now next question will go. Yes, sir.
We see.
Why it is, madam? Means each time the concept, as I told you, how to go with the preparations. Whatever this you are making the option, because there is 4 options, one option must be the correct answer. But whenever you are making any option, you should yourself must justify very convincing that why this particular option is correct and why not others, why others are wrong. That logic you have to develop, that way of understanding, that way of the your preparations must be there, then only you understand the concepts.
Is this hybrid?
Yeah, okay. Why it is hybrid? Again, I am asking the same like.
Because it says the sponsor wants to pursue the objectives as planned, but also wants to accommodate new information.
Mm, mm.
You
That is
know,
where.
so he wants to get the project like the predictive. I mean, it's kind of there is a WBS already there. Work
Mm,
breakdown
mm,
structure is
mm,
there,
mm,
activity list is there,
mhm,
but then he's also aware that some changes might happen.
mm,
Okay,
mm,
and they're ready to accommodate those changes.
Okay, okay. So both are the combination. Here the one part is we are talking about, it is about the plant. When we are talking to pursue as per the plan, means that is a predictive life cycle, very clear, because the predictive life cycle we just learned, it is a plan driven approach. So it is a plant means predictive life cycle, but also now it is not like we are shifting to some other, but we are also incorporating, accommodating the changes, new information and changes. So both we are incorporating planned one and as well as changes in the scope or other part of it, accommodating the new information and new changes. So both the concepts are clubbed together, predictive as well as agile. So therefore it is a hybrid life cycle. Okay. It is one thing we have to understand here also. It is not like we are shifting, but it is but also using, accommodating the and adjust to new information. So both we are clubbing together. Okay. So therefore it is not a waterfall. Waterfall is like a predictive life cycle. It is not single like agile, because it is a plan driven also. So therefore it is not agile. And phased one, there is no such concept like a phased life cycle. So only there are 5 life cycles are there which we have learned: the predictive life cycle, iterative, incremental, agile, then hybrid. So there is no phase like, so we remove it. Like this you try to eliminate which are very sure those are not correct answers. So therefore you arrive at the correct answer. So it is correct, is hybrid life cycle. Okay, good. Now this is already we have covered, so we are not again going.
Types of project.
Yeah. So let us do this exercise.
Iteration planning.
Which one, sir?
Option D, iteration planning.
Backlog grooming.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
C.
Okay, why it is C or why it is a D?
Usually in backlog grooming session only, we'll review the stories and
Mm,
try to see if they are clear enough for the dev team,
mm,
for the
mm,
QA team,
mm, mm,
to work on it. If they're not clear enough,
mm,
we try to break them down into smaller tasks.
mm,
Okay, and that is where product owners are also involved,
mm, mm,
in
mm,
the
mm.
grooming sessions,
Okay.
and that's where the owner also prioritizes them. Which ones.
Mm.
Okay, now I'm getting
So,
confused. Okay.
okay, let me explain it. Okay, you come to the correct approach. One is we are talking about the product owner. Product owner prioritizing the features. Very clearly it is written, product owner prioritizing the features and striving to make sure the team has enough work to execute in the next iteration. This is the where in the backlog grooming what we do. In the backlog grooming what we do is we collect the requirement, what are the requirements are collected, and product owner writes down those requirements from the customer. User stories, user stories have been prioritized, or the features have been prioritized in the grooming session. Once the features are prioritized, the outcome is a product backlog. Product backlog is nothing but a list of prioritized features. Okay, and this becomes input for the next iteration or next planning, like that you starts. So these are the input, because these becomes input, these features, these are prioritized features. So in next iteration when you do, you have to pick up based on the priority how much work you can do in the next iteration. So that is the where it is a grooming session is correct answer, right? But we are not confining here for the question and its answer. We are arrived at the answer, but we are not confining here. We are going little bit understanding, because in the question we are referring certain other terms also, like sprint planning, retrospective, backlog grooming, iteration planning, then sprint demo, like that. What are all the other things also? What is that? We have to understand that way of learning, right? So here one more thing also I will tell you. The sprint planning and iteration planning, sprint is an iteration only. So sprint planning and iteration planning is one and the same. So you can eliminate both of them. Okay, sorry, you can eliminate both of them. And it is not a retrospective. Retrospective is where at the end of the, means after the sprint is complete, then you have a reflection. The team meets what we did well in the just completed iteration and what went wrong and what we need to improve. So those things are done in retrospective. So it is not discussed anywhere in the context of the question. So always you have to understand the content, what is the content of the question, the scenario that describes, and which is situation. The situation is the context. The context here is they are talking about the prioritization and making the enough works for the next iteration. That is the term. So content you have to understand, the context, in which context they are talking, which session they are talking about, the context, and the concept you have to understand. And as I told you, you have to apply a little bit of your common sense. So these 4 C's is very powerful tool. Content, you have to read the content, then understand the context, in which context we are talking about, then we have to apply our conceptual understanding, then of course little bit common sense also required. Here the common sense, like for example the sprint planning and iteration planning is one and the same, so you remove it, very common sense. It is not a retrospective, remove it. It is not a sprint demo presentation, because it is a sprint demo or sprint review is a demo presentation. Once you complete this, you did some work in the sprint, and that work you are showing to your customer to get the feedback. But we are not talking in the content or the content in the context. We are not talking about these things. We are not talking about showing certain things what you have done, the demo presentation. So therefore the E also removed. So once these have been removed, definitely you come to the correct answer about the backlog grooming. But as I told you, little bit of understanding of the concept. Let us understand the concept. We are going for the Agile, the Scrum model. Agile is not a methodology. Agile is not a methodology. Sometime back I told you also. Agile is only a set of values and principles. Based on the values and principles, there are various other methodologies are there. One of such methodology is the Scrum model. And Scrum methodology is very popularly used methodology. So what is the Scrum methodology? Let us understand. So in the Scrum, there are 3 team members are there. Each of these team members' roles are very distinct roles. There is a product owner, the development team, the Scrum Master. The product owner, their roles and responsibilities are, he is looking from the both business side as well as from the customer side. From the business side, he has to ensure the business benefits, the business profits, the returns on investment from the business angle. Other side, from the customer point of view, he also ensures the delivery of the value to the customer. So he is the person who collects the requirement, he interacts with the customer and collects the requirement from the customer. And when the customer he is collecting the requirements, customer, he will not give a specifications, very technical details he don't give, because they are not well aware about the technology. But they give them, the requirement, the functional requirements in very informal fashion. So the informal requirements collected from the customer by the product owner, and he writes down in a certain format. Those are called user stories. He writes down in certain format. Those are called user stories. User stories are prioritized in a grooming session. This is the grooming session. In the grooming session, the user stories are being prioritized, or the features are being prioritized. Then the outcome is the product backlog. Then outcome is product backlog. Product backlog is nothing but a list of prioritized items or the prioritized the features. So these becomes input for the next stage, that is another ceremony we call it. These are ceremonies, backlog grooming and sprint planning. These are ceremonies, that is the meetings, that is events. So that next event is, that is a sprint planning. In the sprint planning, all the members will be involved. The product owner, the sprint, the development team, and the Scrum Master. These three members are involved in the sprint planning. The purpose of the sprint planning is they develop the sprint goal. The sprint goal is an objectives for the sprint based on the priority. Then they also make the estimations, the velocity estimation, and how many sprints are required. All those things they estimate. Then also they estimate how much work they can do in the next iteration or next sprint. So that work estimation, that work they decided how much work they can do, they picks up certain works from the priority list, that is from the product backlog. Some works they picks up, that is called as a sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is an output from the sprint planning, and this becomes input for the iteration, that sprint. Now you start. Before starting the sprint, of course there is a definition of ready. Definition of ready is a checklist. Based on the checklist, if you are ready in all respects, then you start the iteration. So the sprint backlog becomes input for the iteration. The sprint is a time boxed iteration. It is a 1 to 4 weeks duration as per the Scrum model. Okay, it's a time box iteration, means fixed timeline. Assume we are selected say 15 days. If you selected a sprint of 15 days, all subsequent sprints also must be 15 days only. Even though you are not able to complete the works, you can't extend the duration of the sprint. The sprint duration remains the same. Okay, so here suppose we are selected 15 days as a sprint, so the sprint duration. Each day before starting the work, we have a daily Scrum meeting. That is just for maximum 15 minutes. It is a short meeting. During this meeting, we discuss about three things. One is what we did yesterday, that is status, and what we are going to do today, and what are the difficulties we are facing for the today's work. That is the impediments or obstacles or blockers that we will express. Here the Scrum Master, he is a facilitator, a guide, a coach, a mentor, and hand-holding the team so that the team can perform smoothly. So she picks up the difficulties and try to resolve. This Scrum Master is like a servant leader. Scrum Master is like a servant leader, try to eliminate these difficulties so that the team can perform smoothly. Now the team performs certain works during this iteration. Here we are taken say 15 days. The 15 days, what are the works they done? That work they make the demo presentation to the customer. This is in a ceremony, the sprint review. Sprint review is another ceremony, that is meeting. That is a demo presentation. The purpose is to get the feedback from the customers so that you can make the changes iteratively for improvements. So based on the feedback, iteratively you make the improvements. Okay. Once these improvements are completed, then works is complete, then it is subject to the definition of done. Definition of done is a checklist. Based on the checklist, if everything is okay, 100% satisfied, only 100%, you see there is a 100% rule. If anything is less than 100%, either it is 99%, also we are not considered that work is done. So 100% done, then only we takes that is done, that is the outcome is now the product increment. The product increment is an outcome of the sprint. After we are satisfying the as per the definition of done. With this, one sprint work is complete in all respects. Now at the end we have a sprint retrospective. The retrospective is a reflection what went well in the just completed sprint and what went wrong and what can be improved, and that improvements are suggested, recommended, those are called action items, and these action items becomes input for the sprint backlog for the next iteration. These action items becomes input for the sprint backlog for the next iteration, so that those improvements can be recommended improvements we can implement in next iteration. So this is how the understanding of the concept. So here there are 5 ceremonies are there. Here one is the backlog grooming, then sprint planning, then a daily scrum meeting, sprint review and sprint retrospective. So like this there are 5 ceremonies are there. In the question also we are discussing. Here you see, in the question also we are talking about the sprint planning. So we have to understand what is the sprint planning, what is the retrospective, what is the backlog grooming, what is the iteration planning, that is same as sprint planning. Then what is the sprint demo means, the sprint review meeting. So like this each of them we have to understand. That is what the concepts we have to understand. Even though you take 5 to 10 minutes for each of one question, this is worthwhile learning the concepts at the initial stages of your preparation. So this is how you have to make your preparations. Okay. Now this is completed. Now there, as I told you, there are 5 ceremonies. Ceremonies are nothing but meetings. The backlog grooming, sprint planning, daily scrum meeting, sprint review, sprint retrospective. Like you have to go through it. What are all those things? Because we are confined with the question only. But in the question, what are the various terms we are used? Those we have to understand, so that we with more of the conviction can tell yes, the answer is it is a backlog grooming, because conceptually we understand, and why not others also we are able to explain the logic, we can explain with conviction. Okay. So that is where the important of the, that is where you have to practice. Okay. Now next.
Project charter.
Why it is project charter, sir? Why not others? What is the project charter?
Charter is like high level document, which will identify the scope, what is in scope, what is out of scope, okay, and
Okay.
who will be the stakeholders, right, and what are they looking for. Definition of done will also be there. Okay. Others, I don't know what social contract is, and scope management plan obviously doesn't look like that's something which we'll talk about done and ready. That's why.
Okay, let me explain one by one. Let us go about. One is you're talking about the project charter. The project charter definitely is an approved document. It's in a very high level document. After the sponsor is approved, that is the document. That is a green signal to start the project. That is a very high level summary document about the project, like project objectives and project high level scope, the milestones, the budget, the resources are involved, and about the risk factors or assumptions and constraints. All these things are at high level described in a project charter. Project charter is a summary approval note. But here in this question, content, that is why content and context you have to understand. Here we are not talking about the high level summary notes about the project, but specifically we are talking about something a commonly agreed upon and acceptable behavior we are talking about. We are not talking about the targets, we are not talking about the scope or the milestones or budgets. These we are not talking about. We are talking about certain commonly agreed upon acceptable behaviors. So therefore, it is not about the project charter, and definitely it is also not B, that project scope statement. Project scope statement describes the details of the works to be done in a project. That includes in scope and out scope, and also includes the assumptions and constraints. Based on that you have to develop this works. So therefore B also not true, so eliminate. A and B eliminated. Then social contract, as I told you, we don't know about the social contract, let us wait. Then other D is the scope management plan. Scope management plan, whenever we are talking of the plan is always, as told you, a thumb rule. It is about what to do and how to do, means what are all activities we have to do and how those activities can be done. That is about the planning. Here the scope management planning, there we are understanding how to collect the requirements and how to define the scope and how to create WBS and how to validate the scope, then how to control the scope. These are the things we are discussing in the scope management plan. So it is also not that, because in the content and context, that you have to understand very clearly. Here we are not discussing about the scope related anything, but we are talking about certain things which are commonly agreed upon and acceptable behaviors. So we are rejected A, we are rejected B, we are rejected D also. So therefore, what is the correct A? The correct answer we are arrived at social contract. Even though you don't know the answer, you don't know the concept what is the social contract, but definitely you come to the correct answer. By elimination, the technique is very powerful technique. Eliminate the options which are, we are very sure those are not correct. So try to eliminate one by one, then you arrive at the correct answer, even though the concept you don't know, but you are arriving at the correct answer. So this is one of the tip you have to understand in the exam. Okay, this is very powerful tip. Apply this and try your mindset also. Make all the question answers when you are trying, make this type of approach. Elimination is the best method of selection. So you arrived at the social contract. What is the social contract then? Concept you have to understand, because you arrived the correct answer. As I told you, we are not confining to the question and its answer, but we are little bit going to understand what is the related topics and related subject matters, so that you are referring to the some other materials, subject materials or internet or other reference guides you can refer, understand the concept. Here we are trying to understand the social contract. What is the concept? Social contract is the team is agreed upon, the commonly agreed upon certain behaviors which is documented, that is called as a social contract. Social contract about the, say, honesty, about the transparency, about the openness, or about the any of the doubts and all things that openly you are discussing, or cooperation and collective working, team building, all these things are comes under the social contract. Social contract, the advantages are, because it is builds the team collectively work with certain behavior guidelines and patterns, and it discourages negative behaviors. Like for example, negative behaviors like in any of the differences happens between the two persons, they should not cross the limits of the behaviors, like shouting on others or using some bad words or wrong use of the language. So those things should not be done. That is discourage the negative behaviors. And each member understands also the expectation of the team. So these are the some of the advantages of the social contract. Some examples I'll tell you about the social contract. The customer satisfaction. all the team member has to agree upon what we have to do. Ultimately our aim is to satisfy the customers, agreed upon. Then don't fight the frameworks, means learning as you go are the new frameworks like the still learning, so that is agreed upon. Strive to look for the ways to become more efficient. Yes, continuous improvement, that is always essential. In a agile framework also there is continuous improvement model is inbuilt, taking the feedback from the customer for the changes and making the improvements is a model of the continuous improvement. Retrospective, each of the iteration we are going through the reflection, going back, understanding what went well, what went wrong and what can be improved upon. So that is a continuous model. So every time you are looking for the certain improving the efficiency or improving the continuous improvement we are looking for, so that is agreed upon. Then communication face to face, one of the principle of the agile concept in agile principle is face to face interactions, collaboration. So these are some of the things we are agreed upon. So like this, some of the examples I am showing here. So those are the social contract. Okay. We have to agree upon means we have to practice also, not all just adopting, we also follow and practice. Okay. So those are the social contracts. Now next question.
Sprint planning.
Okay. What is this sprint planning? How you can come to that answer? Why not others?
Definitely, it's not a review meeting because we're not doing any demo.
Okay.
Retrospective also, we're not talking about any, any looking back at how we did. Right, we're not taking any feedback onto how did we do and any, practices.
Okay.
So it's only between A and D. Okay, either it's backlog prioritization or sprint review, but we're talking about stories to be taken up for the next sprint. So it's mostly sprint planning.
Okay. Okay. Good. Here the keywords. One is about the, of course, you are talking about the product owner is involved as well as the product team, the development team. Development team is the performers. They are the real doers. They are the domain experts. Product owner is there and development team is there, and they are taking some items, they are picking up based on the priority. That is what described. And also they described that they are developing the sprint goals also. Where do you develop the sprint goals? In the sprint planning. Just now I shown to you that concept, I shown that sprint the Scrum model, how it is works. I told you there in the sprint planning is one of the ceremony. In the sprint planning, all the team members involved and they find out the sprint goal, means first next iteration, what is the goal, what is the objectives based on the priority, and also they decide about the estimations and all thing, how much work they can do in the next iteration, all those things they discusses. So therefore definitely it is a sprint planning. And as I told you, why not others? Then sprint review, it is not like the purpose is to get the feedback from the customer after showing the demo presentation. We are not talking about in the contest or the content of the question. We are not talking anywhere about the demo presentation and taking the feedback, so that is ruled out. Then it is not also sprint retrospective. Retrospective happens after the sprint work is complete, but we are developing the sprint goals only, means you are not even started the sprint. Before that sprint starting, there is sprint planning. So we are in the sprint planning, so we are not completed the sprint. After the completion of the sprint only, sprint retrospective starts. So therefore it is also not true. Then it's not about the product backlog prioritization, because in the product backlog prioritization, there is a grooming session, for example. In the grooming section, we are not developing the sprint goals. There we are prioritizing reprioritizing, refining that product backlogs, but we are not doing the sprint goals. So therefore that is also ruled out. So like this, you are eliminating others also, and coming to with confirmation with 100% sure, like confidence, you are telling it is a sprint planning. So definitely it is sprint planning. B is the correct answer. Okay, it is the kickoffs, like before the starting of the sprint, they are the sprint planning. In the sprint planning only you do the sprint goals and estimate how much work you can do, then you can start the sprint. Thus it is kickoff for the sprint. Okay.
C, retrospective improvement backlogs.
Again, you tell me why it is.
Okay, so anytime after the retrospective, if they want to do something, the first thing is it needs to go into a backlog. So since this particular option has a retrospective improvement backlog, so that needs to go in there. Now, ideally, if that is not there, it would go into the product backlog first. And then if the team is willing to incorporate into the current sprint, it would then be moved into the sprint backlog.
Okay, here the question very clearly talking about during the Scrum retrospective. That is the context. In the content of the question, that clearly talking about which context we are talking about. During the Scrum retrospective we are talking, and we are making some improvements for the next iteration. Okay, then where would the team back the work, means that improvement, what are the recommendations, where it will go for the next iteration to improve. That is what the question. So it is sprint backlog. That is a sprint backlog is in a means once you decided how much work you can do in the sprint, upcoming sprint, that is a sprint backlog. But the retrospective, the recommended items for the improvements also goes into the sprint backlog for starting in the next sprint. That improvement you can implement in the next iteration. So therefore, whatever you have discussed in the sprint retrospective, like what went well, what went wrong, and what can be improved, you have suggested certain improvements. Those suggested improvements are called as action items. These action items will go to the sprint backlog. And once it is went in the sprint backlog, that is an input for the iteration. Now you start the iteration. So that is the question. So like this, you have to understand the conceptually. Once your understanding is clear, that definitely you can say that is 100% my with confidence you can sell that question, that answer, that option. Okay. So therefore it is a B is the correct answer. It is not about the product backlog. It will not go to the product backlog, because product backlog is prioritized list. Based on that, some items are picks up, then sprint planning and other things starts. But it directly goes, because the recommendations only, it's not like again features. So it is only recommendation. The recommendations immediately go to the sprint backlog. So to start in the next iteration, that improvements whatever you suggested, those will go into the next iteration. So therefore it is not about the product backlog. It is not about the retrospective improvement backlog. There is nothing like that concept or such terminologies. So that is ruled out. No need to put anywhere. That is again ruled out, because it is not defining any way out. Only it is a vague, like a generic statement we are making, nowhere to put up. We are ruling out all this thing. Then what is the need of that meeting, the retrospective? Retrospective, the purpose is for the every time improvements we are talking about, continuous improvement. What are the suggestions are there from the retrospective that has to be implemented in the next iteration, so that continuous improvement models has to be implemented. If you don't implement, then what is the meaning of the retrospective, that outcomes? So that is also ruled out. So therefore it is B is the correct answer. Good, very nice, sir. So I will show you some events, because in this agile means the Scrum model, we have certain events. We have to understand very clearly when it happens, that event, and who are the people involved, and how long takes, and what is the purpose or the outcome. Briefly, if you can understand, some of the questions also you can clearly answer. Okay, mainly when it happens, who are involved, and what is the purpose. These are the things. Maybe how long it takes may not be much important for the PMP questions in the point of view, but others may be important. So let us understand. One is the sprint. Can you tell me when the sprint happens? Yes, sir.
I think what is the question not clear? When it happens means?
When you start the sprint, it is throughout the project, no? There are multiple sprints are there. So when
Continuous,
when that event happens, it is throughout the project that sprint happens, because multiple sprints we are there in the project. So therefore, the sprint is multiple times happens. So throughout the project, and who are the involved in the sprint? The development team, because they are the developers. They do the performers. Say they are the doers. And how long the sprint? This you can
4
tell.
weeks.
The sprint duration, sir, as per the Scrum model.
2 to 4 weeks.
No, 1 to 4 weeks.
1 to 4 weeks. Sorry,
1 to 4 weeks is the as per the Scrum. But there are other models like Extreme or the Crystal. They are taking lesser period, maybe 1 to 2 weeks. But as per the Scrum, it is taken as a 1 to 4 weeks. Okay, and the purpose of it, that you have to develop, some work has to be done, and that work has to be verified as per the checklist. Then outcome will be the product increment. The purpose of the outcome here, the outcome is the product increment. After the sprint is complete, as per the definition of done, the work what is completed, that is in all respects is complete, that is the product increment. Now the backlog grooming. Backlog grooming generally happens 2 or 3 days before the end of the sprint. Means the sprint is completed, the 2-3 days before it happens, so that enough works are again prioritized and provided to the sprint planning. Okay, so therefore it happens 2 to 3 days before the end of the sprint. Then here the involvement is product owner and his team. Is the product owner is the man, he is the facilitator, he is the guide, he decides about the prioritization. Okay, and it takes between say 45 minutes to 1 hour as per the Scrum model, and the outcome is the product backlog. Okay, then the sprint planning. The sprint planning happens at the beginning of the sprint. In this that the Scrum model, you see the planning happens multiple times, unless in predictive life cycle. Predictive life cycle, the total planning for the entire project we do at the initial stages. Based on the planning we have to execute. But here each time we are doing the planning, each of the iteration there is a planning. So the sprint planning, each of the iteration at the beginning of the sprint, and here the product owner, development team and Scrum Master, all the members will involve, and is no more than 2 hours for a 1 week sprint. And it is sprint, the outcome is the sprint goals you decide, and also sprint backlog. The sprint backlog becomes input for the iteration to start. Then daily Scrum meeting. Daily Scrum meeting is every day, and it is the Scrum Master is a facilitator, the development team involves, mainly these two, and where as and when required the product owner also can involve. But mainly because the daily basis, the development team what they finding the difficulties they expresses, the Scrum Master facilitator, and she has also coach and guide and try to understand the difficulties, then try to eliminate those difficulties. Then it takes not more than 15 minutes, and this is about the status expression, means what we did yesterday, what we are going to do today. So status related, and is also expressing the difficulties. Then a sprint review. Sprint review happens after the sprint work is complete, means after the sprint work, it starts the sprint review. That is a demo presentation. So here the development team involves, and they calls the customer. So whenever the customer is there, the product owner must be there, because the product owner is the first phase of interacting with the customer. So product owner also must be there whenever the customer also comes. So then it is 1 hour per week of the sprint. These are certain guidelines are given. Always need not be just to follow this timeline only, but these are generally a higher line, the threshold limits like that they mentioned. Is a purpose is the demo presentation to take the feedback. Then sprint retrospective. After the sprint is done, the sprint is done means as per the work means definition of done, the work is complete in all respect, then the product increment is delivered means completed, then it starts the sprint retrospective. Here the Scrum Master and the development team, of course product owner also can involve, because here we are discussing about the improvements in the next iteration. Any of the improvements plannings are there, then definitely the entire team can involve, but primarily it is about the Scrum Master and the development team. Is no more than 1.5 hours for the 2-week sprint, and the action items for the improvements are the outcome. That is in a recommendations for the improvements. Okay, so like this, if you understand these concepts like events, what are the major events happens in a Scrum model, and when it happens, who involved, the purpose, these are the certain important things. Okay, now let's okay, this covered. Now let us see here in this question, means here each of the descriptions are mentioned. For each of the description, let us understand what is the project life cycle is suitable. In the particular scenarios, what type of project life cycle is suitable, he has to tell.
Waterfall or predictive?
Yeah. First one is performed many times in the past, so therefore you know the scope. When the scope is well defined, then definitely we follow the predictive life cycle approach. Moreover, it is a physical development. Physical developments like construction or any of the physical developments you are doing, the ideal project life cycle is predictive life cycle, all plan driven. Okay. The next one.
Agile.
Okay, why it is agile, sir?
Because it says that there are many features and functions, community feedback, rollout features. It's asking for community feedback or user feedback, and then based on that you reprioritize it and in small increments.
Okay.
So all of this seems to be, it's not iterative, it's incremental. So that's for sure. And then they're doing it, and it's a software project. Typically in software projects you follow agile because it's a combination of incremental and iterative.
Okay, okay, very good. Here they're talking about the characteristics you have to understand. I told you the iterative life cycle characteristic is getting the feedback and then iteratively improvements. That's the characteristic of the iterative life cycle. And incremental life cycle is release of the small increments. So here both are there. The feedback is there, which is the characteristic of the iterative life cycle, and also release in a small increments, so which is the characteristic of the incremental life cycle. So both the characteristics are clubbed together, so therefore it is an agile. So very nice, sir, it is an agile only, and moreover it is a software related. Most suitable the practice is agile framework. Next one.
Incremental.
Why it is
Incremental.
Okay, is it
Small,
deliver in a small bits of the value, so
yeah.
therefore it is an incremental. Very good, those are key words you have to understand. That is the purpose of this. Okay, so next one.
Iterative.
Yeah, taking the feedback, repeated feedback you are taking, based on that improvements you are doing. So therefore it is an iterative life cycle. Very nice, good. Next one.
D.
Again the same. Why it is D? Why not others? What you mean by the concept? Here we are talking about the fist of five. What is the fist of five?
That's like people agreeing to something, in a Scrum ceremony. And so when you see three people have held up four fingers, and you will not straight away, decide that and go ahead with those stories. You'll want to know, what are the objections for the other two developers. Okay, why are they thinking in a different way? Okay, so
Okay.
that's important.
Okay. Okay. So let us understand here. That is why the concepts you have to understand very clearly. Here we are talking about in the content or the contest. We are talking about the fist of five. That is the contest. There some of the members, participating members, they raise the four fingers. Others raise two fingers. So what is this actual concept? The contest you are understanding. The contest is we are in the meeting where the decision making. That's the fist of five is one of the decision making. The tool we are using. We are sitting for making certain decisions. Okay, collective decisions or collective coming to the conclusions. So that is the tool we are using in the fist of five. What is the fist of five? First I will show you. Then we will come to the other things. Right. Fist of five. This is the concept about. It is about the collective decision making. Any of the opinion is there, that opinion through a voting, this is part of the voting, like the participant give the voting their opinion. Suppose a participant is raising the hand but all the fingers are closed, that indicates he is strongly objecting or strongly disagreeing with the opinion. And the other hand, if anybody is raised the hand but one finger is raised, that is also strong disagreement and hardly anything, okay, but otherwise strongly still in a disagreement, mostly disagreed. Two fingers are raised, that is also disagreements, but some of the points on the merits may be agreed. Some of the points on merits may be agreed, but mostly again in disagreements, not fully agreeing that opinion. Then three fingers raised is conditional agreements. Okay, we are going to support, we are going to agree with, but certain conditions. Like that, I put the certain conditions, so conditional agreements like that. Then four fingers raised means mostly we are in agreement in all the aspects, but except some few things, maybe minor things that changes required. Otherwise, we are fully agreeing with this means opinion. Five fingers raised means strongly we are in agreement, total consensus with the total that opinion we are agreeing. So those are things. So this is one of the voting aspect. Based on this, we can see how many are supporters and how many are opposing, and based on that also we can come to the conclusion about the A. And also it indicates, suppose somebody is supporting but some others are opposing, why those are opposing, why they are disagreeing, that also there is an opportunity to discuss. So therefore in this question, when we are talking about in this question, the two are raise the four fingers and other two raise the two fingers. So the other two raise the two fingers means they are strongly not in agreements, disagreement. So there then opportunity for you to discuss why they are disagreeing. Okay, four are agreeing, but why the others two are not agreeing and they are strongly in disagreements. So why they are disagreeing, that has to be discussed. So therefore D is the correct answer. Ask the two developers to explain their objections. Okay, clear sir?
Yep.
Yeah, now again a matching type we are going. So let us do the matching.
Sprint review.
Yeah, that is the keyword. Demo presentation is the keyword for the sprint review. So I told you some time back, if you understand the keywords, almost like 30 to 40 questions, 100% with accuracy you can answer. So while you are practicing, write down the keywords. While you are reading any of the subject materials, start writing the keywords. Keywords, there is many advantages because you are writing down in a notebook, and at the before the exam or any time in between also, very fast you can refer and you can recapitulate the concepts very clearly, very understandably, and you need not refer the voluminous books. Many of the books and the reference guides, they are very voluminous, and understanding and reading all those things again repeating is very difficult. But when you write down in a notebook, only the key words or key some words and key terminologies, those are writing, so faster can be referred, and then while you are referring you can recapitulate the subject. So that is the purpose. Okay, and also you can remember for the longer time. The key words you can remember for the longer time. Here the sprint review, the key words are demo presentation. Okay, good. Next is dashboard. Then other one, cumulative tally of the story points.
Burn up chart.
Yeah, burned up chart, very good.
Variance
Variance
reports,
reports.
Yeah, variance report.
Product backlog.
backlog,
Okay,
retrospective.
okay, very good. Like this you can understand the concepts. Okay, now let us do another one. I want others participation also, because I want everybody's participation, not just some familiar voices I am hearing again and again. Not only that, but others also has to participate. This is an opportunity for you, even though you are wrong also. That is when I am telling again, even though you are telling some wrong option, then there is an opportunity for learn why it is wrong and what is the correct answer. The logic, that concept you can understand. So don't shy of participation. So participate, even though wrong, nothing wrong actually, because you are learners. During the learning stage, even though you are wrong, that is even gives a good opportunity to learn why it is a wrong. Okay, so let us start. Yes madam, your talks about C. Why it is C? Why not others? Here we are talking about the agile, the manifesto, the values. There are 4 values are there. What are the values? And that is only we are discussing about. Yes, can you explain madam why it is a C you have mentioned? Okay, somebody mentioned it a B also. Why it is a B? Why not even C, and why not even D, or why not A?
Okay, so in my opinion, working software is the most important thing because that shows value. Anytime you do any work on a software, it needs to show value. So the first most important thing is working software.
Okay.
Next is if you look at the other options, first is custom collaboration. It is good, but the third listed item is working software. So I don't think that was a good option in my opinion. Option C, individual interactions. Again, it's good. Working software is good. So C is definitely possible, but in my opinion, again, working software is the most important thing. Next, everything comes, and then last one, responding to change is very good, but individual, there's no working software. So in my logic, I felt B was a good option.
Okay, okay, okay. And one thing I'll tell you here, okay, concept you have to understand, and logics also very good. Why the others are not true and all thing, you are giving certain logic. But let us understand, the agile values. What are the agile 4 values we are talking about? What are those 4 values we have to understand? Okay, those 4 values are, I tell you, these are the 4 values. At the bottom I have shown to 4 values. The first one is not true. A is not true, because we are talking customer collaboration is good. That is one of the value. Okay, customer collaboration, this is the value. And following the plan is a predictive lifecycle approach. It is not the agile concept. It is not the agile value. Nowhere in the values they're not following the plan. Actually they're making the responding to the change over the following the plan. So that focus in agile is responding to the change, not following the plan. Following the plan is the predictive lifecycle approach. So therefore this is not true, and working software is true, individual interactions are true, but this is not true. Therefore the first option is partly true, not fully. So eliminate. Then the second one is working software is true, because here we are talking working software, one of the value. And then individual interactions, yes, this is the individual interactions. Then responding to the change, yes, responding to the change. And here we are talking about the comprehensive documentation. It is not like comprehensive documentation. Comprehensive documentation are required in the predictive life cycle. In agile, only essential minimal documents, not comprehensive documents. That is where you see it is not a comprehensive document. Means this is working software over comprehensive documentation. So therefore the comprehensive documentation is the predictive lifecycle concept. So we are eliminating this. Now comes to the C. C, we are talking individual interactions, yes, it is true. And working software, yes, it is another value. Then customer collaboration, yes. Then responding to the change, yes. These are the 4 the values. So therefore all the values are covered in the C. C is the correct answer. Then let us see the D, why it is wrong. Responding to change, yes, it is a value. Individual interactions are value. Process and tools, the process and tools are the predictive life cycle. We are rigidly following the processes and tools because those are process oriented, but we are not process oriented, we are very flexible. So therefore we are not following these processes and tools rigorously. But customer collaboration is of course true, but this is not true, process and tools. So therefore this is not true. So like this you are arriving at the correct answer, C. So remember, from the point of view of the exam, because agile is almost like 50% minimum, and above 50% means actually means around say 60 to 65% questions are coming nowadays from the agile framework. So on the agile values and principles, lot of questions used to come. So there are 4 values of the agile and 12 principles are there. These are the agile values. So you go through twice, thrice or many times. So remember agile values, and in contrast about the predictive life cycle. And again also agile related the principles, there are 12 principles are there, those also remember it. So that will help you in the exam. Lot of questions used to come on these values and principles. Okay, agile is actually a set of values and principles. It's not about methodology, it's not about the procedures, it's not about practical steps. Based on the agile values and principles, there are certain other methodologies are there. There they use the practices, they use the procedures like Scrum models, Kanban, then Scrum Band, Extreme Programming, Crystal, the Lean Programming, or the DA. All these things are safe. These are the some of the methodologies. Okay, good.
Sprint review.
Okay, why it is, sir?
Review demos usually, after you're done with your
Okay, now
objective for the sprint.
okay,
So
now let the madam talks about. You have talked many times. Okay, I will give the opportunity for the madam. Madam, you are talking something. Yes. Yes, madam. Why your selected option is true? Or anybody else who can explain?
Well, I can say that to me the meeting that helps to look for impediments on the team, it's actually the retrospective. So yeah, I don't know. To me, all of these answers are wrong.
Here we are talking about the understanding the impediments. Okay, impediments where you express or your difficulty. Impediments nothing but your difficulties, for example, where you express your difficulties.
Daily stand-up meetings.
Okay, daily
B.
stand-up meeting. Then the question you see little bit tricky, like it looks. Which of these will not help Shyam understand the impediments the team is facing, except two negative phrases are used, not and except. You see, the two negative phrases are used. The two negative phrases are when they use the nullifies. Like in our childhood, we must have learned in school days, minus into minus is plus. So this concept you can understand. Multi means two negative phrases nullifies. So therefore, what they are asking, what is the what will help? Will not and accept these two.
this is B.
Yeah,
Yeah,
will
yeah.
not and help accept will nullify. And what will help to understand about the impediments? That is about the daily stand-up meeting. In exam also, many times these type of negative phrases they uses to confuse you. So you have to understand very clearly concept. Two negative phrases when they use, it nullifies, so it comes to this like that. Okay. So here we are talking which will help to understand the impediments, that is the daily stand-up meeting. The purpose of the daily stand-up meeting is three things we will discuss in the daily stand-up meeting. One is about the status, that is what we did yesterday, what we are going to do today. The third one is what are the problems we are facing for the today's work. So that impediments are the blockers, those we are expressing in a daily stand-up meeting, so that the Scrum Master, as a facilitator, a guide, a coach, a mentor, try to eliminate those difficulties so the team can perform smoothly. That is the purpose of the daily stand-up meeting. The daily stand-up meeting is a short meeting of just 15 minutes. It's not a detailed meeting. It's not about the detailed technical meeting, or it is to any of the problems or issues are there to discuss about why it happened, root cause analysis, and it's a detailed technical meeting. No, it is only just a 15 minutes meeting, maximum 15 minutes, just to express what are the difficulties you are facing. Okay, so good. Next one, this is the multiple choice question, a multiple response question. Multiple choice is only 4 options are there, one good option you have to select, but here we are talking about 2 options you have to select. These are called multiple response questions. In the exam there will be multiple choice questions, multiple response questions, matching type of questions. All these things we are practicing. Okay.
B and E.
Okay, again here also you see 2 phrases are used, negative phrases, not and accept. the daily stand-up meeting is typically not meant for all the following except. Again, two negative phrases when they use these nullifies. So, not and except nullifies, then what is meant? The stand-up meeting is meant for, as I told you, so just to discuss what you are going to do today and what are the blockers or what prevents the work or impediments or the difficulties that we are discussing. D and E are correct. Why not others? Again I will tell you. A is not true because it is not a detailed status meeting. So, it is not true. It is only short meeting, a 15 minutes maximum meeting. So, it is not a detailed status meetings. It is not about the solving the problem and root cause analysis and discussing about the what is the root cause and then coming with the solutions. No. So, it is ruled out. It is not to carry out the technical discussions because technical discussions are detailed discussions. So, it is also not true, and it is also not true about the micromanaging. It is not like each minute details we are discussing. No, it is only just we are discussing about what are the problems we are facing for the today's work. So, therefore, it is not also micromanaging. So, ultimately the D and E are the correct answers. The daily stand-up meeting, what I told you, what we did yesterday, what you are going to do today, that is what is going to do today works, right? Then what the problems we are facing. So, these things we discuss. So, therefore, D and E are the correct answers. Okay, good.
Negative phrase questions. Many PMP questions have negative phrasing which certain times confuse you or takes longer time to answer. Negative phrase questions like which is not correct, which one is false, which is not true, double negative questions. None of the following are true except the question really mean which one of the following is correct. None of the following are false except the question really mean which one of the following is false. All are correct except the question really mean which one of the following is false.
So, like this negative type of questions many times comes. So, you have to understand that I gave the tip. Double negatives are very dangerous many times. So, you have to very keenly read the content. So, whenever the double negatives are there, that has to nullify, and single negatives are there, negative phrases, then also sometimes we overlook. So, that carefulness needed. So, we carefully have to read the content. So, we have to understand what is this, right. So, good. So, this is what the daily Scrum meeting, as I told you, is not a detailed status meeting. It is just not micromanaging. It is not meant for the solely for the Scrum Master. It is not about the planning meetings, like that. It is not a technical meeting also. So, like this. Now, let us do the another question. Yes, sir. Yes, it is talks about madam is talking about 3B. Why it is B? Why it is a B? And let us understand. And they're talking about what type of adaptive approach means agile, that methodology they're talking about, what type of methodology. Agile by itself is not a methodology, I told you. There are various other methodologies are there like Lean, Kanban, Scrum, Crystal, then about extreme programming, then DA, SAFe, like the many methodologies are there. So what is the methodology they're talking? Given the context and that content you have to understand. Here in these things they are calling mainly about the UT. You see this, the pull based planning and limiting the work in progress. These two things they are talking about. The two things are associated with the Kanban. The two things are associated with the Kanban. Kanban is a lean concept adapted from the Toyota production system, but here they are talking about the pull based planning. What is the pull and push? I will give an example and tell you. The push means, for example, in industries like a cement industry, steel industry, there is a continuous production is there. Continuously they are producing irrespective of the customer's requirement. Then once the production comes, they push into the warehouse where they keep that inventory. Maybe the customer may require in the future days, but immediately there is no requirement. But we are maximizing our efficiencies, we are maximizing our productivity and making the maximum produce, and then we are pushing into the warehouse. That is the push concept. That is the push concept. But pull concept means as and when customer required, then only we are doing that works. Or as and when requirement basis only, on demand basis only we are doing the works. So that is called pull. Here in the Kanban, it is taken from the Toyota production system. Here also we are using the pull system. Means we are not pushing the items from one stage to another, but we are going as per the demand only. Once that example I will tell you. In the Kanban board, we split the in different columns. There are different columns are there. First column is talks about the what are the works are assigned to us. Those are like your product backlog or whatever may be. These are the works are assigned to us. These are the tasks. Okay. Then to do means as per the definition of ready, we are ready to start but not started. To do means we are ready to start but not started. As per the definition of ready, we are ready to start, but we are not started because that work is engaged. Suppose already that development team is engaged with some other works, so they are not able to pick up now. So these are the waiting list, like these are the waiting list. Okay. Then in progress means we have started the work but not completed the work. Testing also part of the work in progress. So we have started the work but not completed the work. So from to do to the in progress, that task will move as on demand only, on based on the pull concept only, it will move from there. So the keywords you have to understand about the pull. The other one is limiting the work in progress. The work in progress, we are not pushing these items, the tasks are not pushed into the work in progress, but we are limiting the work in progress. Only when the team is ready to start and they are able to start the work, then only it is moving to this column. Okay. So therefore the keywords for the pull, this Kanban is pull, and another is limiting the work progress. Also the workflow also you can call it. These are the three keywords: workflow, the pull concept, and limiting the work in progress. These are the keywords for the Kanban. So I am repeating you many times to understand the keywords. Write down the keywords. If write down the keywords, immediately you can catch from the question what are those keywords are looking like. So then answer will be 100% accurate. Okay, good.
I think option B.
Okay, which of the following statements is not true? We are talking about not true regarding the planning and managing the scope in Agile. B is the correct answer. But why the B is correct answer? In prototype is the type, the concept is very frequently we are using in Agile. In Agile prototypes to reduce the risk factors, we are doing certain small version and we are showing to the customer, get the feedbacks. Based on that, again we are want to improve. That is about the prototype. Prototype is a smaller version. Suppose you want to develop a car, for example. So a small model you are developing, on that all the testing and experimentation you are doing, then if it satisfies, then you are launching in full scale. That is a prototype. So in Agile also we are using the prototype, but not to avoid. Here we are talking avoid is not true we are talking. So which is not true means the Agile one by one we go. The first one is less time is used to defining the scope early in this project. Yes, we are not making the complete planning and defining the scope at the early stages, because scope is subject to changes. So therefore that planning we are not doing at the early stages for the entire project, but each of the iteration we are taking that planning. Again the scope also we are defining for each of the iteration, but not for the entire project we are defining at the early stages. No. So A is not true. B let us hold and let then go to C. See, the scope is defined and redefined throughout the project. Yes, scope is always defined and redefined. That is what the prioritization, reprioritization we are doing in the product backlog. So therefore, product backlog contains the scope as on that particular date, the pending works, the pending scope. So therefore, we are doing, that is true. And also the requirements are kept in a backlog. Yes, requirements, that is what the pending works. All the customers requirement we are writing down, that is user stories are prioritized, that comes to into backlog. So backlogs contain the requirements, the features, prioritized features. So that is also true. So which is not true we are talking. So therefore B is not true. Then B we are talking about the prototype. Prototype as I told is the smaller version, but in Agile what the prototype is, a prototype is an early sample or model release of a product built to test the concept or the process or to act on these things. That is what the means. First you are developing something and showing to the customer to get the feedbacks. Okay, that is a prototype. Prototype allows you to experiment and spot the bugs early in the process. So that is what the Agile we use extensively about the prototypes. Okay.
Option
Option which one? D you are talking about. Okay. Why it is D?
because they did not give the team size.
Okay.
So
Okay.
without knowing the team size and capacity, cannot compare which team is what.
Okay, very good, very good. Different teams have the different capacities, different teams have a different size and different competency levels and different cohesive working, and many factors comes to decide about the velocity. So simply on the face of it we can't make the comparison. Okay. So D is the correct answer. One cannot compare the team with each other based on the velocity numbers, because velocity depends upon many factors. Those factors like, for example, why is a team A is slower than B? Here you see that team A has a 20 story points, whereas the team B has a 40 story points. So velocity of the team A is 20 and velocity of the B is 40. But we can't compare, because even though it is slow, we can't compare because maybe because the estimates are different scales, or the iteration length, that is what you are talking about, the durations may be different, or maybe the team composition, the skill sets are different, or maybe the team, that unity and the cohesiveness are different, or the working styles are different, or the team, the leadership also may be different. Certain times the leaders also will influence the team to perform better. Maybe different team has a different leadership styles, so that is also may affect your velocity. So like this, many factors affect your velocity. So therefore simple comparison is not possible, not a fair deal, right? So therefore D is the correct answer. Okay.
weeks.
And why I want some others to answer why the particular option is true.
That's because if we divide the number of story points in the backlog between the story points that they will be doing each 2 weeks, we have 16. So then we multiply by 2, so we have the correct number of weeks that it will take. It's 32 weeks.
Very good, excellent, excellent. So here we are talking about the total story points are 400, that is in the backlog, and the capability, that is the velocity, the team capacity or capability is called velocity. Okay, how much story point they can do in one iteration? 25 story points they can do. So how many iterations are now required? 400 divided by that velocity or the capability of the team, that is 25. 400 divided by 25, it is 16. Then each of the iteration is 2 weeks duration, so therefore multiply with the 2, it takes 32 weeks. For the pending works to complete, it requires 32 weeks. Okay, very nice, good.
B.
Okay, why it is a answer? Some are talking about A also. Okay, why it is A?
When I want to rule out the options, so first options is not going to work because you cannot increase iteration length throughout the way or halfway through the sprint cycle. So next option B, in my opinion, it says do their best and under difficult circumstances and make changes in the iterations lessons learned, which I don't think is a correct option. Right now, you have to solve the problem. So they're just saying do their best. So I don't think those two are good. Next option, option B, meet with the product owner to reprioritize the iteration backlog so that it doesn't impact other teams or that seems to be a good option. However, I think A is good because you're asking the teams to figure out what they can do to still meet the deadlines.
Okay. Let me explain now one by one why A is not true. Here the question they are talking about, the task 1 cannot be completed in a timeline and there is a dependency. So, therefore, the other task has a difficulty now, other project has a difficulty. So, that is the issue, that is the problem they describe, that is the content, that is the context. Okay. Now, what the project manager resolve this issue? When problem is expressed and now you have to come out with some solution. What is the how to resolve? One is meeting the individually each of the team, because it is a collective problem, it is not like individual problem. It is a both the dependencies are there between the projects. So, therefore, separately discussing it does not serve any purpose, because your team always talks your own point of defense and other team also talks their own points in isolation. So, in isolatedly talking about the both the teams does not serve the purpose. So, therefore, that is ruled out, A is ruled out. Okay. Collectively you have to discuss, not just in isolation with each of the teams, we can't go because the dependency is there. Okay. Then let us hold the B, then we comes to the C. C we are talking about increase the number of team members. Increasing the number of team members generally in many of the projects not is feasible, because many factors are coming into picture, the availability of the resources, the cost factors and many other factors are there. So, generally whenever you want additional resources, no project or no management will allocate to you additional resources. So, therefore, that is also ruled out. Okay. And also increase the iteration length. Iterations, once you discussed about the fixing the iteration, that is I told you time fixed, time bound iteration. The sprint is a time boxed iteration. So, time box means the time frame is fixed and all the iteration has to have the same time frame, not like depends upon the works either pending or not done or not able to complete, then you take expand or increase the timelines. No, always the timelines are fixed, that is the concept in the Scrum model. So, you can't increase the iteration, so ruled out. So, let the team members know you want to do them, then let them do their best and say face them, then that is also not a good approach, because you are a project manager, you have to resolve that issue. So, the D also not a convincing answer, so ruled out. So, ultimately it is a B. B is because there is certain dependencies there, because of certain reasons that one task is not able to do, then it is affecting the other works, that depending works. So, therefore, something reprioritization is one of the maybe option you can explore. So, that B is looks very convincing, so good answer. So, let us go with the B. Okay.
A.
Here, which is not an example of the information radiators. What is the information radiators then? Means concept you have to understand now. What is the information radiators?
Tools which the agile team uses to showcase progress, or the work the team is doing in a particular sprint. Okay, what
Okay.
issues they are facing, and what is the burn down.
Okay. Actually, information radiator is visual displays. These are visual displays either in electronic form or in other manual form, where the large boards are there centrally located, so that it is conveniently available to all the concerned stakeholders. So, there the status about the project or the important informations about the projects are being displayed, like definitely you are talking about the burn down charts or the Kanban chart or the velocity charts or any other things, any problems or other things also there, you can depict there in centrally in central locations, that is the information radiators. Now, we are talking what is not an example of the information radiator. The posting of the burn down chart is definitely one of the information radiators, and keeping the team the task board also you can put in information radiators. So, that is also true. B and C also true. Then maintaining the list of the stories the team has finished. So, velocity, that is also true. Each of the iteration, how many user stories they completed, that indicates the velocity. Velocity charts also can be displayed in the information radiator. So, the D also true. B, C, D also true. Then comes to the A. A, we are talking a team sitting together so that they can observe the information from the conversations that happens around them. It is not true, because it is not about the information, it is collective sitting together and meetings and all things. It is not talking about, it is not talking about any of the conversations. So, it is only information what is you projecting as a common, like common places or the central locations, some project related information visually you are depicting, that visual displays are there in the information radiators, not the conversations and meetings. So, therefore, A is not true. So, that is what they are talking about, which is not an example of the information radiators. So, A is here in this case, A is the correct answer. Okay. So, information radiators are big visual displays. Okay. Like this, you can indicate the Kanban board or burn down chart or the velocity chart, like that lot of informations you can depict in central locations. So, that is called information radiators.
Letter B.
Good. This is about the early and continuous delivery of the software. That is one of the means principle of the first principle of the Agile, means Agile Agile has 4 values and 12 principle. This is the first principle, early and continuous delivery of the valuable software. So, that is true, and others are not true because obvious reasons you can understand. So, B is the most appropriate in this case. So, B is the correct answer. And there are 12 Agile principles, as I told you. So, these are the first principles: customer satisfaction through early and continuous software delivery is the first principle, and then accommodate the changing requirements throughout the development process, then frequent delivery of the software, working software, collaboration, support, trust and motivation to the people involved, face-to-face interactions, working software is the primary measure of the progress, then about the consistent development, technical detailing, simplicity, self-organized team, regular reflections. These are the 12 principles, and in the question we are talking the first principle. So therefore it is there. Based on the agile principles and values, I told you lot of questions used to come. So focus on this, understand the agile values and principles. Okay. Yes, sir.
A.
It is actually D. A is true, I am not denying, because one of the principle, that is 12th principle of the agile is reflection. Reflection is about what went well, what went wrong, what need to be improved. That is what the retrospective we call it in Scrum. Okay. So retrospective is after the iteration we do, that is true 100%, not no doubt, and also it is not only because it is a continuous improvement concept. Continuously we are reflecting and chances for the improvements. So therefore it need not be confined only for the iteration. Many times we use for the after the release, and also after an unexpected or significant event happens, then we have to understand why that happened, means what went wrong, what need to be improved, all those things we can understand. So we can do, like many places we use as a continuous improvement model or the concept. So therefore this retrospective can be used in many other areas also. After release or after the unexpected events happens also, we can use this process. Okay. Generally after iteration we do, that is what the Scrum model we are discussing about, but need not be only for the iteration, but after the release and also we can do, or any significant event happen, unexpected event happen, adversely something going wrong, then also we can have the retrospective. Okay.
A.
Yeah, here we are talking about the one is we are talking about the remaining works line is below the expected work line. This straight line which we are talking about, this is the expected line, work line. The actual or remaining work is like this, below this. Okay. below this it indicates that, for example, any given point of time. So, this is where the time we have taken. The remaining works, because y axis in the, this is a burn down chart. In the burn down chart, the y axis indicates the remaining story points, x axis is the timeline. So, here the remaining story points are indicated in the y axis. So, on the given time, this is, for example, the remaining story points supposed to be as per your expectations or the plan, it must be 120, but actual it is around say 90. So, it is less, means pending story points are less, means you are ahead of the schedule, you have done more. So, then only this remaining story points will come down. So, the remaining story points come down, that means you are ahead of the schedule. Okay. Good. On the burn down chart also quite many questions used to come. So, understand the concept like this may ask, not directly that burn down chart like that ask, but like these questions may come. Okay. Yes, sir. D is the correct answer. Yes, Mr. Pradeep. The D is the correct answer, because the velocity indicates the capacity of the team. We have to optimally utilize the capacity of the team. Means which are the combination of the story points, stories, which meets the total that capacity. Total capacity is our team capacity. Velocities indicate the team capacity. The team capacity is 10 story points. So, therefore, which combination meets the 10, so that optimally we can use the capacity, that is the story 2, 3 and 4, means 5 plus 4 plus 1 story points exactly meets the 10. So, therefore, D is the correct answer. Good. Yes, sir.
Option B.
A is the correct answer. Read the explanation also.
But wouldn't option D help or have option A as part of its change? Because I mean, if you try to release basic functionality first, you are giving some value, but you might not be giving the best value, and that need not be a separate option. But if you go for option D, you're reducing your sprint cycle. Let's say it's 4 weeks. Now you're bringing it down to 2 weeks, or you can bring it down to 1 week. You'll still go through the same cycle, but only since you're limited to a shorter duration window, now you do things quickly. You take up shorter, prioritized tasks or features that you want to implement, right?
Okay. In this type of the questions, why we made this question is to make you understand that here in this question we have to understand very clearly about the content and the context. In the context is the company is losing the market share to the competition with the new business models. The Agile team is asked to restructure the number of features of a product and release the version more quickly to the market. That is what they already told. And in this condition, in this context, what you have to do? That is what the question now. What is the impact the planning? That is what we are talking about. How will this request impact the planning? Okay. All the four options you can argue in a one way or the other way, but which is most prominent, which is most as means connected to the context, that you have to find out. Otherwise, all the four you can argue. All are true, like, but which is most appropriate in the given context you have to discuss about. Okay. So here we are talking about the A is let us hold the A, but B let us go. The product vision will be updated to reflect the user driven release roadmap. Again, we are talking about the very high level and in generic, like, not specifically to meet the requirement. Here we are talking about the Agile team is asked to restrict the number of features of a product. But again, we are not going the high levels, but very specific we have to discuss. So B is ruled out. Then the sprint backlog will be reprioritized to work on the smallest and smallest stories first. That may not be resolve your problem. The problem is because you require the faster release to the market, the versions has to release based on the priorities. But here again, reprioritization and all thing on the smallest and the smallest story points first. That is not true actually. It is not like small stories based on the story points, lesser story points, easier one you can deliver first. No, it is based on the customer's requirement, customer's priority, not the based on the your convenience of the small and small stories very fast you can deliver, because those are the lesser of complexity or lesser of the means involvement of the efforts are required, so you can conveniently can release. That is not the question, but the priority based on the customers or the requirement, the demand in the market, but not to your convenience. So that C is ruled out. Then D is increments will be reduced to enable faster product release. Increments release reducing. Okay, you can reduce the increments. Then what is the functionality wise? Functionality also can reduce, no? there means the incremental that the durations and all things are reduced, faster you can do something, but what is the functionality? Ultimately the customer is required working software or working that value he wanted, but by reducing and faster something like piece you are doing, but ultimately that means release has to be understand. The release is about the functionality, not about the faster something like you can release. That is what is the value to the customer he can put into use, that is important. So that is why therefore D also not that important compared to A. A will be the backlog will be prioritized to deliver the basic functionality. First is the basic functional, the backbone based on the priority, the means the skeleton. When you are going, the skeleton at the top of the skeleton, for the example story mapping you are doing, we have discussed also, at the top of it is mandatory requirements. Those mandatory requirements first we have to release, so that we are discussing here very clearly. So prioritizing to deliver the basic functionality to the customers, so that will meet the faster the requirement of the customer, so that we can meet the market demand. Okay. So therefore A is the most appropriate one, not the others. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Pradeep, you are talking about the B. And who can explain me now? Okay, B is the correct answer. True. But what is the logic? In this question, you see, there are certain difficulties. The problem they expressed, that lot of user stories that team has presented did not meet the original design. So that is the difficulty, that is the problem they expressed. And also they made the root cause analysis also did, and then they come out with the what is the cause. This is the cause. Some of the small tasks which are necessary to complete the user stories were not performed, that is the cause. So the cause also identified. In this case, as a project manager or as a team, as a product owner, like what is your next step, what you do, which of the following approaches would effective they deal with the small tasks. So that is the question they are asking. So many times in exam, the question presents certain problem, and you have to find the root cause. In case the root cause is given already, then it's well and good, but ultimately you have to come out with a solution, or what is the problem you have to identify, then you have to come out with what is the best option you have to select in this given condition or given situations. Okay. So in this case, the situation is the context you are talking about, small tasks are not completed, therefore that completion is not happened, that original demand is not, that original design is not met. Okay. So what you to do in this case, so that this small task also incorporated in the finished whatever you are delivering, that is incorporated. So the definition of done is one of the tool, that is a checklist. The definition of done is a checklist. DOD we are talking about the B, that is the correct answer. So here you are talking DOD, the definition of done, that is a checklist 100% is okay, all are covered, 100% satisfied, then only it is taken as an increment. Otherwise we don't take as an increment. So therefore we not taken for the product increment as a shippable. So therefore all the small items also, which are the tasks which are missing, also covers. So that all those are completed, then only we can go with the release. So therefore the B is the correct answer, and the A is not correct answer, because the product owner should prioritize the product backlog frequently and small tasks should be captured. He is not talking about the product backlog actually, because already we have taken certain product backlog, the priority items for the iteration. In the iteration something we are missing. We are not talking about the product prioritization and all thing. From the prioritized list only we have taken certain items which we can perform based on the priority in the sprint. In the sprint certain items are missed, some tasks are missed, they are not completed, that is what the problem. So therefore the A is not relevant in this question. So C, when it comes, combine the multiple tasks to come out with the stories that conveniently make the key objectives. These also may not be sufficient reasons, because many times what happens, the user stories or the features are further divided and broken down or decomposed into smaller tasks. At this task level only the development team will be performing. So again clubbing them is a counter to that effect. So therefore it is not a purpose, it did not serve the purpose, because always we make the task into small, means entire story points or user stories or these features we divide into smaller tasks. At the task level only performance can be done. So it's a counter to that. So C is not also correct answer. Then D is get the sprint backlog reprioritized and favor the, once we have done, means taken up, pick up the certain items which we can perform in the sprint, that is the sprint backlog. Again the sprint backlog will not be reprioritized, because we are based on the priority only have taken up, and by doing this also we can't assure that small items or the small task will be completed. So therefore this is also not the true answer. The correct answer is D. B is the correct answer. So correct, sir, Mr. Pradeep. Good. Yes, sir. It's not about the facilitating the retrospectives and planning meetings. This is the Scrum Master do. Scrum Master is a facilitator, a guide, a coach, a mentor. She facilitates all the ceremonies or meetings. So it is not the product owner's responsibility. So it is the Scrum Master's responsibility. So that A is ruled out. Then B is acting as a servant leader, again a Scrum Master's responsibility. That is a servant leader. The Scrum Master like a servant leader. and putting the people first. So trying to eliminate the people's related that difficulties or the task, any difficulties that there, those things will be removed. So B is also not true. Then organizing the development work. The development work, this is the development team looks after. That is not the product owner's responsibility. So maximize the value of the product. Yes, that is the correct answer. D is the correct answer. D is the product owner is the both sides, from the business side, from the customer side, he has to improve the value. So value to the customer, that is the customer is satisfied, means we have to deliver the products in time and as per the customer's requirement, all the releases are being made, that value of the product will be improved. So that is where the concern of the product owner. So that is ultimately the value to the customer is the concern of the product owners. So product owner is the D is the correct answer, right? Yeah, here the estimation we are talking about, how much work the team can perform, that the team development team can tell who is responsible for setting the story points per sprint. The story point sprint is the velocity, that capacity that they will estimate, the team, the development team will estimate. So that is the responsibility of the development team, right? Good. So in the exam like this, many questions used to come. You have to understand about the what is the role of the product owner. The product owner is there. One side is from the business side.
Can you go to the previous slide, please? Once, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Who is responsible for setting the story points per sprint? The development team, because they are the performers, they know how much work they can do in the next iteration. That is the velocity. The velocity based on their capacity, they will decide. They will make the estimations. Okay. So the development team is the correct answer. Here the question is, in the exam, PMP exam, Agile related, lot of questions on the based on the roles and responsibility of the product owner, the Scrum Master and the development team. Lot of question used to come. So we have to understand what is the product owner's role. The product owner is one side from the business angle, he has to look after the business value, business profits and business returns on investment. The other side from the customer's point of view, he has to look after the customer's value. So he has to collect the customer's requirements and he has to write down the user stories and he has to prioritize the user stories or the features, so that he has to develop the product backlog. He is the person who is responsible for the the product backlog related, that prioritization, reprioritization, refinement, all those things, he is the responsible person. And also any changes are required in the product backlog or any of the features, that also he is the person who is responsible for. And also the acceptance or rejections of the product product backlog items are the, once the development team does some works, the rejection or acceptance also the product owner has the authority. Okay. Or any changes are required in the prioritization, in the features or the any of the task related, he is the product owner, is the responsible person. Now comes to the Scrum Master. Scrum Master like a servant leader, and Scrum Master is a facilitator, a guide, a coach, a mentor, hand holding the team for the better performance. So the team, if they have any difficulties or any of the impediments, that Scrum Master try to eliminate or remove. And Scrum Master also ensures the team is following the Scrum practices. The Scrum Master's major role is ensuring that the team follows the Scrum practices. Okay. and she is a facilitator. So all the ceremonies, she facilitates the ceremonies. Okay, so that is the role of the Scrum Master. Then the development team. Development team is the domain experts. They are the cross-functional members from the software engineering, or the analysts, or the quality analysts, or the experts, testers, like this. This is a development team. Okay, the development team has the self-organized team, so they have the autonomy to adapt the changes. So these are the different roles and responsibilities of the different team members, exclusive responsibilities. So therefore you have to understand these things. Many questions used to come on this subject. Okay, here again this is the multiple response question. Why first one is not true? Let us understand. Here we are talking the product owner's job is to guide the direction of the product. To guide the direction of the product. It is actually true answer, correct answer. He is the person who is in charge of the product related the prioritizations, and any changes and other things also required. He is the person. He is make the product the roadmap also. The product roadmap is a high level high level commitment to the customer in terms of the timelines when we are going to deliver the product at the high level. So all these things are the product owner the responsible for it. So therefore the first one is correct answer. Then 2 we are talking about the product owner's job is to validate the final deliverables of the project. No, the final deliverables who validates? The customer validates. Verification is internal verification, validation by the customer. So verification and validation we have to differentiate. Validation is always by the customer, and based on the validation he can accept or reject. Once he is accepted, that project is through. So that is the customer's responsibility, not the product owner has any say. So that therefore this is not true. Then the product owner is responsible to verify the rules of the Scrum are adhered to. Just now we have gone through. The Scrum Master is the person who is responsibility to ensure the team is following the Scrum practices, but not the product owner. So it is Scrum Master's responsibility. So therefore it is not true. Then comes to this, the product owner should not join the daily Scrum meeting. No, anytime he can join. He is a member of the team. Anytime any difficulties are there, because in this daily Scrum meeting we are discussing certain difficulties, so the product owner also may join. Generally the development team and the Scrum Master facilitates the meeting, and the development team they are feeling certain difficulties, so that they express the difficulties. But the Scrum or the product owner also may join anytime if he wants. Okay, so the D also not 4 also not true. Then comes to the 5. The product owner manages the product backlog. Yes, he is to the product backlog of the for the development team. The product backlog's complete authority is the product owner. He collects the requirement from the customer, then user stories he writes down, then prioritization he has done. So after the prioritization, the outcome is the product backlog. That is the prioritized list of the items. That is the product backlog. He manages reprioritization, then prioritization, reprioritization, refinement, all those things done by the product owner. So the 5 is correct answer. So 1 and 5 are the correct answers, not the 2 and 5. Okay, with this let us take a small 10 minutes break, then we will again rejoin. Then last I tell you some tips about the exam furthermore. So join for the next, after 10 minutes again we will joining. Okay.
Do you find the presentation informative and useful? If yes, then click like and also subscribe the channel for free to receive updates. Thank you. For more details contact SN Panigrahi at the below contact details.